I own a gorgeous 1968 Chevrolet Camaro convertible. Wait, hang on. Now it's a Camaro convertible. Man, do I love this car. The paint and body looks amazing. It's got some really cool upgrades like big brakes, and I only paid $23,000 for it. Now, the guy before me paid $45,000 just 4 years ago at the Mecum auto auction, and the original Mecum listing said it had a 383 stroker, and so do the badges on the car. But unfortunately, this definitely isn't a 383 stroker. This is a Chevy 350 out of a 90s truck, but that's okay because you can do a lot to a 350. So even though mine is pretty slow, and it currently won't start, I gotta spray starting fluid in there. Let's see. Hey, there it goes. It's definitely fuel related. It's having some carburetor issues. So we're gonna fix all that with some cool modern parts from Holley, some really cool vintage parts from Holley, a bunch of performance parts, including a new camshaft, intake, cylinder heads. And so we're gonna blend the new and the old, that never gets old, and try and make my Camaro the best version of itself possible. And it all starts, well, not in this awesome interior, but under the hood. Before we get started, I'm taking the hood off. We have so much work to do here. Pretty easy on a 68 Camaro. That's it. All right. Gosh, this paint is so nice. Oh my gosh, that is so nice. And on old, American cars, there's so much room for activities. This is gonna come apart so quick. First things first, we have to drain a bunch of fluids, which is a shame because it's only been like 500 miles since I did them all, but whatever. Gotta do what you gotta do, people. And that includes drain oil. Actually, maybe I drove this more than I thought. That's kind of dirty. Engine oil is drained. I drained coolant out of here, but let's see what we get out of the lower hose because I'm gonna take this radiator out anyway. Whoa. Okay, that stuff was kind of dirty. Yeah, that's not good. There's no antifreeze in the system at all, so yeah, it doesn't look the best, but that's okay. Pull the heads off, we're gonna give it a nice cleaning. I'm gonna go ahead and remove our thermostat housing with the hose. There we are. Yeah, they did not run any antifreeze at all. This is just straight up water. So this is what happens, especially with steel parts like this thermostat, they just start to corrode. Definitely add some antifreeze into the mix, but right now we have transmission cooler lines to remove so we can get this gigantic radiator out. This thing is thick. Trans cooler lines are disconnected. The radiator's bolted in here, so we're gonna remove the battery, and look at this, there's no hold down at all. It's great. Now let's just get this guy out of here. This is kind of a cool, old school looking battery, I like it. The bolts to remove the radiator keep spinning, so we have to remove this plate here. That makes sense, they have nuts on the other side. What does it look like in here? It's pretty nice. It's really nice. Oh, okay. I think that's all that's holding these things in. It doesn't rest on anything, just the bolts. Let's get this one out. Is that it? Oh yeah, that's it. I love old cars. There's no bottom core support or anything. It's literally just bolted in right here. That's it. There's so much room for activity. I don't even know where to start. We can take apart everything in the front. Oh man, this carb is just staring at me. It's daring me to just take it off right now. Well, taking the carb off is gonna have to wait a few minutes. I gotta get this distributor off first because I'm just gonna take the whole intake manifold off with the carburetor. Just rip it out. The distributor has one hold down bolt right here. Kind of a pain in the butt to get to, but a wrench fits in here pretty well. So I got that turning. I got that loose, so now we have our hold down with our bolt. I'm gonna pull this distributor out with all of the wires as well, so I'm pulling those off of the spark plugs right now. Okay, now we just pull this guy right up. That's it. If we weren't replacing the camshaft and the distributor, I would set it to top dead center and worry about timing and all that, but we're replacing it all. Figure that out later. That's for future Alex. These wires are kind of zip tied around everything. All right, I think I pulled out all the wires. There's our distributor. Get out, get out, get out. There it is. You are banished underneath the table forever, actually. This is a good distributor. It worked well. Do the wires coming off of the distributor remind anyone of Predator? It's like the dreadlocks from Predator. Seriously, just anyone else? Did anyone think of Predator's dreadlocks at all, or is it just me? Without the distributor, we have a ton of room. I'm gonna pull off our vacuum going to the brake booster. Nice Willwood setup here. We can disconnect our fuel linkage now. This is pretty awesome, by the way, how loose this stuff is on old cars. There were two nuts holding in, and I just took them both off. That's it. This goes to the pedal. Now we can just go around the intake manifold and remove the bolts. Yeah, swivel doesn't make any sense right now. But hang on, hang on. Yeah. Swivel. Oh, those little plugs in there. All right, yeah, there are plugs in the intake. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Look at this, a bolt. Oh wait, no, that's not a bolt. That's a stud. Doesn't that look like a bolt that's just kind of sitting there? It's a trick bolt. Trick bolt and all of his friends are out. And we're just gonna pull off this fuel line here. I added this nice filter last time. And I believe that's it. I think that's all we got. There's lots of RTV holding this intake on. So I'm gonna pry on it a little bit, or a lot of it. Jeez, she is glued. Come on now. Whew. Come on. Ugh. Yes. Oh, that's the sound of success, people. Yes, yes, yes. She's coming out. Woo. Just need a little gentle persuasion. There we are. All right, intake and carb. See ya. Man, she looks pretty clean. She looks pretty clean in there, I must say. Let's see, M1T3. Terminator 3, obviously. Not sure what that means, but yeah. So, yeah, these gaskets have been on there for a little bit. They gooped it up for sure. But you know what the beauty of all this is I don't have to clean that because we got new heads and we got a new intake and we have a new thing that's gonna do what the carburetor does, but way more EFI-like because we're running the Sniper EFI system. Look at this, guys. So my friends at Holley sent out a ton of stuff for this project, including this bad boy right here. So we are gonna have fuel injection. We're also gonna have a low profile intake. I could not fit any air filter on this and clear the hood. But now with this, I'll be able to fit this. It's from Holley's vintage series. And the flame valve covers are kind of cool, but I like the vintage series valve covers much better. And then these aren't from Holley, but I have new aluminum heads. We're gonna rebuild the water pump. Here's the kit for that. And there's so much, guys, there's so much. But don't you worry, we're gonna go over all the parts as they go on. We're gonna get to taking the cylinder heads off here in a little bit. But for now, I'm gonna spray down these exhaust manifold bolts. We'll let these things soak for a little bit so the headers aren't a total pain to get off. And while that's going down, let's remove some accessories. We're gonna start off with the alternator. And I gotta say, I'm usually not into shiny accessories and stuff, but this looks pretty clean. Woo, all right, that's one way to do it. So there are no belt tensioners. This basically just has large slots and you set the tension by hand. Take out this really long bolt here. Oh, there's a bracket behind it, but there's our shiny chrome alternator. This is another part of the alternator bracket we can remove. Goodbye. More brackets. More bolts, a couple spacers in there. I added these last time, they just had nuts in between. Oh, okay. Power steering is loose. We can take this belt off. And we can take this off as well. Okay, just like that, our power steering pump is loose. Now I did rebuild this in the last video, so there's really no reason to remove it. We can just leave it literally right here. And that way we don't have to crack the lines going to the gearbox. It's a good time to take this bracket off the cylinder head. There we go. Check out how bad this water pump is. Look at that, the bearing's moving back and forth. Oh yeah, that's not good. Oh, listen to that. Strangely enough, I didn't hear that when the engine was running. And I mean, it's kind of loud, but it's not that bad, but that bearing is shot. We should just have 4 bolts for the water pump. Ooh, they are on there. Okay. Jeez, we'll put the water pump on. Let's see if we can get this by hand without breaking anything. Oh my God. There we go. Whew, that was unnecessary. Water pump wasn't going anywhere. That was my elbow for a second there. More cowbell. Okay, this side's not bad. So if this was like double teamed by 2 guys, this guy was just like either really strong or really angry. Now they're coming out. Sweet. Ooh, a little crustified. Ooh, losing some water. Nice bolt. There she is. Now we just pull this guy off, and there is our chrome water pump with a bad bearing. Next, we're gonna take the balancer off, and we have to take the crank pulley off before that. And look at that. These are rubber filled. Okay, it's interesting, but here we go. All right, we just have a few bolts to remove for the pulley. Okay, I have the 3 pulley bolts out. Ooh, that's not gonna do it. Let's try the big brother. Oh my gosh, so easy. Very nice. All right, there she is. Okay, nice and easy. Beautiful. Before we remove the harmonic balancer, I have reinstalled the center bolt. That way we can turn the engine over. And at this point, I think I'm gonna line this engine up to receive our new camshaft. So we're gonna set the cylinder 1 to top dead center. Something that's gonna help us determine that this cylinder, which is 1, is top dead center, are the valves, and we have to take the valve covers off anyway. There's 4 center bolts. I'll remove these guys. And here she comes. There we are. Okay, cool. There is our flame valve cover, not to be seen on this engine. Again, it's really not that bad though, honestly. It's a nice valve cover. Might as well just go ahead and take this side off as well. I gotta say, it is so nice working without the hood on. This is awesome. Bam. So if you see on the timing cover, there is a tab here and it has numbers. So what we want is 0 degrees before top dead center. And there's a line on the balancer. So we're gonna line that up. And something to pay attention to are the valves. So right now, these valves are closed. That's what we want. We hit 0 and they haven't moved. Perfect. Okay, so that's where you want this. If one of these has gone down, you need to spin it around again and make sure that it's up on the compression stroke. So the spec when installing the new cam is top dead center cylinder 1 on compression stroke. So valves closed, piston all the way up, you're good to go. Well, next I was gonna show you this balancer puller tool, which I will, but I unfortunately knocked over my coffee. Yeah, there it is. I put a lot of cinnamon in my coffee. It kind of clumped together, but yeah, that's fun. Okay, that really stinks. I got like 2 sips out of that. Wonderful. Wonderful, people. Anyway, let's pull a balancer off. So unlike the LS3 in the Grand Sport where I used a 3-jaw puller, for the old school Chevy small block, we're gonna use a harmonic balancer puller kit. So we're gonna need this here, and then there's various sizes. I know we need a 7/16 for the center and the fine thread 3/8 as well. So we're gonna start off by installing this into the snout of the crank. So we're gonna thread this in as far as it will go. Next, we're gonna thread this piece into the bolt that we just installed. It has outer threads as well. With the pulley puller bolt tight, we are tightening up the pulley body, just flush up against the balancer like that. Now we can install the puller flange this way, like so. And then we can start threading in our 3 bolts into the harmonic balancer. Now, because our flange is bolted to the balancer and we have the puller body behind it, all we have to do is turn this to the left. I have the wrench bottomed out on the frame, so I don't have to hold that. And we're pulling the balancer off right now. Hard to see little by little, but she's coming. Ratcheting wrench would be nice, but this is a 28. I don't own a 28 ratcheting, do you? It'll just take a while. If you haven't gone to the gym yet today, this is a good exercise to do for the old buys. Oh, need a break. All right, back in. Let's see this, almost out. Oh my gosh, this has gotta be it. Yes, now I can just spin this off with the tool. Oh my gosh, get out. All right, just gonna take these bolts off. Should be good. Whew, is she free? Almost, almost. All right, balancer is out. Yeah, this thing's seen better days, that's for sure. Like many cars, this harmonic balancer has rubber in between, and you can see it is failing really bad. And when that eventually deteriorates away, this ring becomes not part of the pulley anymore. It leaves the chat and could hit a bunch of stuff. It's bad, so we gotta replace this. Balancer is on order, but that won't prevent us from taking this guy off because we gotta get to the cam. So many front cover bolts to remove. This might be a good spot to put them for now. They're very short. With all the bolts out, this should just pop right off. It's kind of glued on there a little. There we go. I can see in there. I see the chain. Jeez. I got some dowels that are being stuck. There we go. Oh, come on, dude. All right, there we go. It's just getting hung up by the oil pan gasket right there. So here is our front cover. Someone's definitely trying to fix a leak here. Yeah, all right. So I did the oil pan gasket before, and I thought it was never fixed. Like, it kept leaking, but I think it was that front seal instead. I even lowered the oil pan and just kind of gooped it up to see if that would fix it, and it wouldn't. So at this point, I might drop the oil pan again and just start over. We'll see. Let's get to this stuff. Here is our 3-bolt gear, and here's our timing chain. I put our harmonic balancer bolt back in, and so we're gonna be removing these 3 bolts to remove the cam gear, and we're gonna get a new chain in there and everything, but you can kind of see right here, that's a little weird. Like, these bolts they've definitely been messed with. Someone wasn't using the right socket, I think. Anyhow, we'll fix that too, I guess. Lots of stuff to be fixed here on the old Camaro, but right now I'm going to remove the rocker arms and the push rods. We'll get the lifters out. We gotta take the heads off anyway. Maybe we'll take the heads off. I don't know. There's just a lot lot of tearing apart, and some of it, the order matters and some of it doesn't. We have new rocker arms for this as well. Let's take these off. This is a 5/8 socket. All the nuts have been removed on this side, and now we can simply go around collecting our stamped steel rockers. We're gonna be doing a big upgrade with these bad boys here. All right, so normally I would keep these in order, but we are replacing them. So we're just gonna bag and tag, people. Bag and tag.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
All right, last one. And then we'll pull out our push rods. There we go. All right. Okay, I just removed all the nuts on this side as well, so we'll strip it down. Come on out, push rods. You've been pushing enough. You've been rocking enough. Rocking and pushing. Last one. All right, there it is. Now, fun fact, you don't need to remove the heads to remove the lifters on a Chevy small block. You just need to remove the intake manifold. Stay. A magnet helps, and then you just pull it out. So here is, wow, our flat tappet lifter. Yeah. That's old school. So in the almighty LS engine, every single version of the LS, you have to remove the heads. So the lifters go in here and the heads, cover them up. There's no way to get them from anywhere underneath the valley or anything. You're just kind of screwed. And I have always wanted to know, will a Chevy small block lifter fit in an LS? The answer, ooh, yes. Wow, look at that. It fits perfectly. I didn't know that. That's the more you know. Now, even though we could easily remove these lifters with the heads in place, we're gonna take these off. They gotta come off anyway. These header bolts have been soaking for a day. Okay, that was really loose. Wasn't expecting that. That just probably wasn't tightened up. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Are you serious? Okay, that one was kind of tight. I see why. They use one of these horrible graphite material gaskets. They shrink over time and you always have to tighten your header bolts. I don't like those. But I don't want to complain too much because these bolts are turning right now. Knock on a valve spring. There you go. And I will take that any day. Wow, that's great. We can get these out with our ratchet now, for the most part. I can reach ya. All right, last bolt, get my wrench. Okay, these are disconnected, sweet. Get this gasket out of here. Don't be fooled, these look nice, but I don't like them. They're too thick, they're too squishy. I gotta take a few steps back here. Yes, went to the Bulls game last night, so that's why I was able to get that in there. All right, so what's nice is we can leave the headers in here, just kind of get them out of the way. And yes, I know people get new headers. I completely agree, I will, all right? This is a big project, okay? So I'm saving that for when I can do the headers and just have the whole thing done up, but there's just so much to do. I thought I could pull these headers back enough to remove the head bolts, but they're kind of in the way. This is a really basic exhaust system. I think I can remove it all pretty easily. A couple 13s back here. Whoa. Can I take this out with the header? That'd be awesome. Oh, look at that. Never done that before. Exhaust manifold with the complete exhaust on one side. That's sweet. I'll have all the room in the world. So hopefully I get that lucky on this side. There we go. Can I get this out? Yeah, we did it. That was so easy. Wow, this is the worst exhaust system I think I've ever seen. I mean, it's just old. I mean, these are nice long tube headers. They were at some point, but just so basic, and they just have a dumping right behind the axle. Don't worry, one day we're gonna do it up real nice. With the headers out of the way, we have all the room in the world to get to these head bolts, and there are lots of them. Definitely. So I'm just gonna kind of go around in a circle and loosen these up. Yeah, surprisingly, I wonder what the torque is. We're gonna find out, but it doesn't seem like that much. Kind of nice. With these all broken loose by hand, we can hit them with the gun. Let this go by real quick. Unless you drop your socket, then it's just gonna go by kind of quick. Oh, this is always fun. We're gonna be getting lots and lots of coolant / water all over the floor. This always happens when you take off heads. I'm gonna go around and pull out all of the head bolts now. There are different lengths, so I wanna remember that. So this one was shorter. Let's see what else we got here. Rest of them, are they gonna be the same? I think it's just that front one. Yep, these all look the same. Let's get in the back too. Okay, so remember this shorty goes here. I'm telling you this as if I'm not the one that has to remember this. I literally have to remember this, okay? So yeah, good thing I got footage, or I'll write it down. But anyway, with all those out, this is gonna be kind of frozen in place. Oh, come on. Oh, get a shimmy. I forget any bolts. Oh yeah, it's moving. Come on. Get out of here, head. In your head, they're all fighting. Zombies? Or cranberries? Yeah, cranberries. Zombie. Yeah, that's it. Good song. Check it out if you haven't heard it. We're resorting to a little pry ball. Oh my gosh. Okay. Jeez, the thing is heavy. Oh man. Yep. Steel heads for you. They are awesome and super heavy. Oh my gosh. Let's see if I can get this. Oh, yeah. I made it pretty far from here to here. Okay, I gotta get this out of here. It's getting everything dirty, but here's our steel head. Everything looks great. The engine ran great. No, I'm not out of breath. I'm really not. I actually feel great. I've been working out a little bit lately and I've been taking AG1. Check this out. This stuff is so delicious. One scoop like that. And we mix it in, give it a little shake. And this is like my favorite little break time of the day. This stuff tastes delicious. So with AG1, I'm gonna get my multivitamins, my pre and probiotics, my superfoods, and antioxidants in one delicious drink. It's amazing. So this is gonna help support your gut health and digestion and energy levels. And that's big time when you're doing this kind of project. Something else I really love is it's free of GMOs, gluten. If you can't have dairy or lactose, this has you covered, eggs and peanuts. So a lot of people will take this first thing in the morning. I do it like right smack dab in the middle of my day. Because I take basically one break a day. This is it. Now AG1 gets shipped directly to your house. It's very easy. And if you guys travel, they got you covered with their travel packs in different flavors as well. We got tropical, berry, citrus. So with AG1, you're gonna replace your need for multivitamins, probiotics, and much more in one drink. And with a subscription, this is only about $3 a day. So to get started is super easy. You can scan the QR code on screen or just go to drinkag1.com/legitstreetcars. I'll drop the link down below as well. And when you do, you're gonna get a free AG1 welcome kit when you first subscribe. So you're gonna get a bottle of vitamin D3/K2, the sweet shaker that I use, and a sample pack of all 3 new AG1 flavors. So a big thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this video, and check out the link down below, scan the QR code, and get started with AG1. You guys are gonna love this stuff. Here is our head gasket. Oh man, these head gaskets can be a pain to clean up all the stuff from the block. Not a fan, but it wasn't blown or anything. She ran good. That's cool. These pistons, whatever they are, they have valve reliefs. That's nice. You can actually go with a pretty big cam then. Well, we have lots of cleaning to do. The cylinders though, they look fantastic. I think this was a pretty low mileage engine. I mean, I know it looks dirty right now, but it ran really nice. No smoke, no issues, no nothing. All right, head number 2 coming off. Oh, this thing weighs more than me. Jeez, it's pulling me down. It's like a boat anchor. Whew. All right, she's off. All right, this head gasket's coming off too. I'm 50% shooting right now. So not that we needed to take the heads off to pull the lifters out, but it's just easier now with nothing in the way. And it helps to get a magnet in here, and then you can, come here, boy. Get up here. Oh my God, it's kind of a pain. Stay, no. He doesn't want to go. The old pen light grabbed it, and it helps to get some traction with a rag. It's just slippery. Slippery little fella. Oh wow, did you guys see that? Look at the bottom of this lifter. Oh man, that is not good. That must have been beaten up on the cam for a while. It is supposed to be flat like this one, not all mushroomed in like that. Oh no. It's crazy how well this thing ran, and you didn't hear any weird noises or anything, but we'll see what the cam looks like, not that it matters. We're replacing all of it. The rest of the lifters all look fine. It was just the one. I can't wait to see the cam lobe over there. In order to remove the cam, we need to remove these 3 bolts, but I just want you to take a look at something here. This thing is so loose. This timing chain is definitely stretched out. That is not good. That could be another big reason why this thing was so slow. I mean, it was just, like, it felt like it had like 130 horsepower or something like that. So the timing could have been way off. We had one basically valve that isn't opening much. The lift was probably nothing on the one with the bad lifter. So yeah, a lot of things that need to be fixed here. But luckily, the bottom end looks great. The pistons, cylinders, everything look awesome. And hang on, I'm curious, did they bore this guy out? It should be 4 inches even. Oh no, this was bored 20 over. Look at that, they bored it over. So this engine, I believe, would be a 355. So this piston is all the way down, so we can actually measure the stroke. It should be 348 for a stock 350. Little carbon buildup or my little error, but this is, yeah, stock stroke. So if this was really a 383 stroker, it would have a 3.75 inch stroke, which it does not have. And technically a 355 is 30 over. This is 20 over, so it's like a 353. Should I change the badge? I just need to swap out the 8 for a 5. That would really confuse people, wouldn't it? I got a 353. Let's get this cam out of here. Pull this gear off, and with the chain, there we have it. And yeah, nothing fancy, that's it. So this engine has a mechanical fuel pump. It's driven by the cam, and we're gonna be putting a block-off plate here, so we have to remove it anyway. But that's also the only way you can get the cam out is by pulling out the push rod that goes onto one of the cam loops, otherwise it gets in the way. All right, with the bolts out, we can just pull this out. See, the push rod goes on there, and it pumps and creates fuel pressure. We have another plate here to remove. There we go. Hey, there's that push rod. All right, you are no longer needed, sir. Oh, and that plate too. Bagged and tagged, people. Bagged and tagged. It's not tagged at all, but if I looked in the bag, I would know what's in there. I don't need a tag. I threaded in 2 longer bolts into the cam, so just have a couple of handles, and now we can slide this guy out. I'm gonna be relatively careful with this because there are cam bearings. You don't want to pop them out of place. Yeah, it's pretty easy to take out overall. And we're almost out. There's our gear. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're hitting one of the horns, the very last little bit. Sun bolted a horn. There we go. There is our factory camshaft, or whatever this engine is. Let's see, where was that cam lobe? I know it was in the back somewhere. Actually, might be okay. Yeah, might have just beaten up the lifter. The cam's typically stronger than the flat tappet lifter, so yeah, all of these look totally fine. Nothing's flattened out, but still performance would have been affected big time. But this is in excellent condition overall. Here's a look inside of the engine. Those are the cam bearings. They look to be in nice shape. Now, before we get to installing the new cam, I have a ton of prep work. I gotta clean this engine up. I'm gonna go around with a razor blade and get kind of the big chunks of this gasket off first. And then I'll be using this guy right here to really mint it out. Look at that, look at how clean that is. It does take a while to clean, but it can be pretty satisfying, I must say. Let's see. All right, we're getting there, we're getting there. Anyway, I'll be here for quite a few hours cleaning this up, and then hopefully we'll have a good before and after. I went around another time with the razor blade. I got all the big chunks off. And with a little bit more speed, this white pad cleans it up even better. We're only about half speed on the die grinder, and we're not removing any actual metal material. Look at that, it's beautiful. The engine's looking pretty good, but I gotta show you a little trick. What I wanna do next is chase out all of the head bolt holes in the block, and you can make yourself a nice little thread chaser with a factory head bolt that you're gonna throw out anyway. We're gonna clean the bolt with the wire wheel, and then we're gonna grind one side totally flat here on the stone. Then we'll just clean it up again on the wire wheel. And there you have it. We have made our own thread chaser for free. So you can see there's a lot of crud there in the threads. We don't want that. And so all we're gonna do is thread in our head bolt, just like that. Run it through. It's gonna pick up all of that garbage, and then we'll thread it back out. And you can see we've picked that all up in the threads. And we can just go ahead and hit that up with some brake clean. Little shop air. And look at those beautiful threads. I'm all done cleaning the engine, so we went something that looked like this, kind of nasty and grimy, to an engine that looks like this and is ready for some new aluminum cylinder heads. I mean, this block is gonna be so happy with those things, and it's ready for a new camshaft, so let's do that. So I went with a pretty standard camshaft, nothing crazy. This is a mild street strip camshaft. What's super cool about this camshaft is that it is gonna change our firing order to the LS firing order, just like my Grand Sport. So Chevy small block 184365572 and the LS 187265543. So a different firing order. So it's gonna sound a little bit different, but it's going to have a different power band as well, which was optimized. That's why the LS is king of everything and came out after the Chevy small block. So they figured out this firing order for the LS engine was better. So here's our cam card. We do have 110-degree lobe separation, so we're definitely gonna get some chop here, but the lift is not that crazy. This is a mild setup, people, okay? But it's gonna sound good. And something I just noticed on the old cam, where'd it go, is right here. It's straight up missing a lobe. It is gone, and that's not the one that had the messed up lifter. This cam lobe has disappeared. Wow. So we were down like 1.5 cylinders for sure, and this is gonna fix it and basically make it an LS, especially with the fuel injection. Before we install the camshaft, I have my baby 3-jaw puller assisting us in removing the crank gear. We're replacing that guy. Get out of here, guy. Ooh, I'm almost off. Ooh. Okay, cool. Don't stop there. Seriously, don't stop there. That's annoying. Almost had you. All right, I get it? Oh yeah, there we go. All right, see ya. I have our new crank gear, Bacon. in the oven. She's hot, 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 hot. Let's get it on. This is adjustable, but we're gonna set it up to the 0 mark. There's a few love taps. She's pretty hot. Should slide right on. Oh, it's beautiful. Check it out, a 33 millimeter socket fits perfectly over, and then we can hit it all the way so it's flush. You know, I always wondered what the 33 was for because I've never used that in an actual socket. I've never heard of a nut or a bolt being a 33. So apparently they made it for the Chevy small block crank gear installation. You can see the crank gear is adjustable so you can retard or advance timing, but we're going with the 0 or the dot straight up. And you can see our keyway lines up with the 0 there as well because these are off. It'd be nice if the keyway and this dot just happen to line up. That'd be great. Before the cam goes in, we are going to lubricate it. So this is engine assembly lube. You guys have seen me use this a bunch of times on parts like bearings, and cam does ride in bearings. So these are the cam lobes to open up the intake and exhaust valves, but these right here are the journals that ride on the cam bearings in the block. With the lubricated camshaft, we can go ahead and install it and just be gentle. You won't be able to see the bearings that it's going into. You gotta imagine. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and install our gold handles at this point to give us some leverage. Got no traction. All right, so that's a nice little handle, and just keep going. Slow and steady wins the race. Last one, always the most difficult. There we go. All right, cool. We have our cam installed. She spins. If I remember correctly, our dial's gonna be like about there, but we'll set up timing here now with the timing chain kit. Hang on, just a reminder to enter to win my twin turbo diesel BMW X5, and this is gonna be the last week that we're doing double points on the made in the USA Legitstreetcars shop wipes. These are the best shop wipes on the market. They will clean up the nastiest hands. Then you can use the same one to clean off your tools and your work area, and then just throw it in the garbage when you're done. If you guys don't have running water in the garage, this is a great solution, and you can keep them in your car. You could even keep them in your very own twin turbo diesel X5. Look at this, 26.7 mpg. That's almost 27 mpg mixed with a bunch of city of Chicago traffic. It does over 30 miles per gallon on the highway. Each tank is like 600 to 700 miles. And this diesel rips and sounds like this. I've been daily driving it as well. It is absolutely amazing. Pano roof. I lifted it with some cool wheels and tires. So you can win the X5 plus $3,000 cash, and I will either fly you out here or ship the car to you when you win. Good luck. With the crank gear installed in the correct position, cylinder 1 at top dead center, it's time for our cam gear. And you can see it has a little dot there. I'm gonna go ahead and install that. So there's a dowel on the inside. Okay, so our cam gear is on. We gotta line up the bolts. I'm using a little bit of Loctite on these bolts, and I'll thread this in. I just installed the 3 bolts to line up the cam gear and make sure that our dots are lined up. So we're going with 12 o'clock on the crank and 12 on the cam. You can also line this one up at 6 o'clock and that one at 12 o'clock. But this way it's on the compression stroke on 1. You'll see after we do this, once we turn it around, you can get 6 and 12 also. So now that we have the cam in the exact position we want it, we're gonna take this off and get our double roller timing chain on the gear. This is a much stronger timing chain, so normally they come with a single roller. This has 2. And when you're looking down on this, it's hard to see the dot right there. So we do have a chain link that is a different color. So I know that has to be straight up, and there's no tensioner or anything fancy here. You just gotta line up the gears and the chain as one unit. All right, I think that's it. Yep, there we go. Straight up and down, straight up and down. Let's get our bolts back in. Snug them up. You see it'll pull the cam out a little bit. That's normal, it's just setting its position. We're gonna torque this now, just 20 foot-pounds. That's done. Oh my gosh, that is so much better. Look at that. You guys remember the chain flop? Well, here it is. This is how much play we had before, and now it is awesome. It is awesome. It's gotta be worth like, seriously, a lot of horsepower right there. That thing was just flopping around. I'm gonna be replacing the oil pan gasket anyway, so I just pulled this piece off. It's very difficult to reinstall the front timing cover if you have a 1-piece oil pan gasket in its way. So we're gonna be bolting this up first, and then I'll do the oil pan gasket, which you guys have already seen me do, but it's a pain in the butt. I gotta lift the engine. Anyway, right now, I just wanna double check that our double roller is not gonna hit the front timing cover. I think we're good. I'll bolt this up, and I wanna spin this around, make sure nothing's touching. All right, bolted up the cover, and I'm spinning around. Nothing's hitting, so we are good to go there. Sweet. Temporarily taking the cover off. I just wanna spin this around first and just look here and see if there's anything that needs to be grinded on the inside of the block. Can never be too sure, and I think we're gonna be fine. This is perfect. Pistons are moving up and down. The world is all good. I'll show you guys how these dots line up while I'm spinning some stuff around. All right, so this one's about to go to 6 right there. Bam, that is 6. Sorry, I'm shaking here. Okay, there we go. That's 6. So you can see our cam gears at 6 o'clock. Crank is at that 12. Cylinder at top dead center. This is just a different part of the stroke. You have to go all the way around to get it on that compression stroke when it's about to fire. And then we're gonna be pointing the distributor to that cylinder 1 so it fires right off and lights that compressed air and fuel. Fuel injected air and fuel. But you know what? I think I'm gonna try and find a new cover. I don't trust this thing. I think it's been pried off way too many times. I do not want any more leaks. It's time for our aluminum cylinder heads, and something I like to do is just get a little oil in the cylinders. You can start from the top as well, just a little bit, and it'll kind of just creep into the rings a little bit because this is all dry since we were using a lot of brake clean, and we don't want it to be dry when it starts up for the first time. Next step, we have our steel head gasket. We're going with the good stuff on this. All right, let's line it up. And these are nice. They have little push tabs there, right on the dowels. There we go. All right, perfect. And even though this is a Chevy small block kind of run of the mill, I always like to go over each head gasket, make sure it's not blocking any holes or anything like that. But this is perfect. Here are the new aluminum cylinder heads that we're gonna be installing. They were only $600. Here are the specs. These aren't anything super fancy, but they're about 40, 50 pounds lighter than the cast iron heads, and they are gonna flow a little bit better. And aluminum dissipates heat much better than cast iron, so you could run a little bit more ignition timing. So from what I'm reading about these particular heads, we should see like a roughly 30, 40 horsepower gain over the old ones. But seriously, forget horsepower gains. Look at how easy they are to install. They're so light. Oh man, this is the best. The other one was a beast to get off. This makes installations so much more fun. There's one dowel pin, there's the other. All right, she's on. That's beautiful. Look at that. So cool. I love this stuff. I'm gonna be using ARP head bolts for a little bit of an upgrade with our new aluminum heads. And something that's important is that these head bolts protrude into the coolant jackets, so you need to use a thread sealant. Not all engines are like that, so you don't always have to do that, but on the small block, you do. This stuff is good to about 300 degrees, which is fine. Like if you're running 300 degrees on your engine, you got some serious issues, but the parts store might have some stuff that's good to 400 degrees, so I'm waiting on that. So let's put some lifters in. Here are the new lifters from Morel. And I've had them soaking in a bag of oil for a little bit. And just like how I took the old lifters out, probably a little bit easier without both the heads in. That one's kind of in, but anyway, these are just gonna slide right in with or without the head, and they're just gonna fall in like that. Pretty cool. So we're gonna keep on going here, installing our lifters, and something I wanted to point out is they will go in with the link bar facing the outside, so they fit in there, but the proper way is to have the link bar facing the inside or the center of the engine. And one of the big differences here with the lifters is we're going with a roller lifter as opposed to a flat non-roller lifter like this, which can spin in the bore. And these rollers can only go one way on the cam lobe, so if this spun, it would get destroyed. So they give you the link bar. Just finished putting the lifters in, and the parts guy walked in with this, the high temperature thread sealant, and the world's tiniest bottle. That should be enough though, I think. Before we install our ARP head bolt, I've installed a washer. You'll see it has a chamfer that faces up towards the head of the bolt. And then we need to add a little bit of the ARP lubricant to the top side of the washer, like that. And I'll put some on this side as well. And I just wanna make sure we coat that pretty well. So what that's gonna do is reduce friction when we go to torque it. You're not mixing the two, but the threads, and the threads only, is where we're gonna put our high temperature sealant, like that. It's coming out a little watery on me. I had to mix up the tube a little bit, but here we go. And I'll just go around installing the head bolts. All the bolts are in, so now we can just go around with the gun, and we're just snugging these up, save time, but no real torque. With them snugged down, we're gonna follow this torque sequence. Our final torque is gonna be 70 foot-pounds, but we're gonna do 3 passes. So I'm gonna do 20 right now, then we'll go like 45 and then 70. So just follow the order. You got 17. There are 17 head bolts here. That's a lot of head bolts. Is that more than the LS? It feels like it is. Like this should hold all the boost. All right, I'm on my final pass of 70 foot-pounds. There we go, 1. I gotta say, there's a muscle in my back that's definitely getting some work right now. Just like that, our cylinder head is installed, and well, I figured we should probably put another cylinder head on. So both of those are torqued. It's time to move on to push rods and rockers. Bam, bam, bam. All right, it's not that dramatic, but we are going with some comp cams, fully roller rockers. Look at that. Here's a good comparison, old versus new. This is a stamped steel rocker. These work fine, but as you can see, there's no roller tip at the end, and the roller tip is gonna reduce friction. This also has full roller bearings in the middle, where this just kind of pivots in there like that. this. So anyway, this is a great factory unit. They are very reliable, but this will free up some horsepower. Now, unfortunately, we can't just drop in our push rods, bolt these up and call it a day, because there's a very good chance these push rods are not gonna be the proper length now that we've changed not only the cylinder head, but the camshaft and the rocker and all sorts of things. Another big reason is the difference in lifter height. So with the roller, you have added height. This looks like it's much longer, but the lifter actually contacts right around the same area there. But this is a big difference either way. Sorry, lifters, I need you for demonstration purposes. You're back home. We need to measure and see what's going on. Oh my gosh, this is way off, way off. We're checking everything with the piston at top dead center. So that means the camshaft is on its base circle. So the valves are totally closed. And the base circle is the very bottom of the cam lobe. So this is the highest point. The opposite point is the base circle. So right there, both valves on base circle, the lowest point possible. And you can see, because the original pushrod is so long, we can't even get a nut on there to tighten this rocker arm up. In order for us to fix this, we need to measure pushrod length. And this is a tool. It's an adjustable pushrod. It's threaded right here. So we'll take our stocker out. We won't need this anymore. And we'll install our pushrod checking tool, just like that. I already have this way shorter than the factory one. And now that is more like it. All right. And before we reinstall our rocker, we are going to paint the top of this valve black with a Sharpie, like that. So with that, we can go ahead and install our nut for the rocker. And what we're gonna do next is all by feel. We're gonna be setting this to 0 lash, so no preload into the hydraulic lifter. And so I'm just gonna tighten this by hand, and I'm spinning the push rod. And when this push rod stops to spin, that's 0 lash, that's it. So there's no slack in this, but there's also no preload. We're not pushing down on the plunger at all. That's for later. But right now we are at 0 lash. So at 0 lash, what we could do is spin the engine over, and we'll see a line in the black Sharpie, and it'll indicate if this rocker needs to come this way or this way. But just as a quick check to see if we're even remotely in the ballpark, we can just do one of these, kind of move it back and forth. And now we'll take this off. Pull our rocker arm out. Let's see what we got. If you see, we have a little line right there. So I don't like that at all. It's too far in, and there's not an even contact patch across the whole top of the valve. So this is indicating to me that this push rod is too short. So to increase the length, we're just gonna turn it out. I'm gonna go back and forth measuring this a few times and doing our test until we like that line. So with our adjustable push rod out, we can adjust this a little bit longer, and you can get massive digital calipers. So we'll measure this precisely right on our stainless steel table. I twisted it back to about where we were, so we wanna go a little longer. I'll try 7.1, we'll see what happens. All right, I just checked, we need to go a little bit longer. We'll try 7.2. You can have custom push rods made for just about any length. I had to do a lot of this with my Trans Am. Back in the day, I had these crazy adjustable rockers, they were horrible. But 7.2 inches is pretty common when going to a roller on a Chevy small block. So I think that might work out, but we'll double check. So we've lengthened our adjustable push rod. We'll reinstall the rocker and the nut. Spin the rocker. That is 0 lash right there. And we'll move it side by side to see where our mark's gonna end up. We can remove the rocker, and oh, that looks pretty good right there. I like it. It is right down the middle. Awesome. So now we know what length push rod to order, and then we'll put some preload in it once we get the actual push rods in. So I'll show you how to do that, and then we should be good. So anyway, let's move on while we order some push rods. They're gonna take probably a day or two. So much to do while we wait for our push rods, like installing our fuel pump block-off plate. So we got rid of the mechanical fuel pump. We just need to block it off so oil doesn't spew out. So this has a gasket, a little RTV, and it's just gonna sit there. Now that we don't have the fuel pump, these bolts are too long, these are too short, but look at that. I have them all, proper sizes, and that's because I have Bolt Depot. This is a absolute lifesaver. I wish I could count up the amount of time that I've saved. I go over here, I measure it, I pick it out, I have my own hardware store. I'll leave a link, boltdepot.com. Amazing. With the right bolts, we can go ahead and tighten this up. Beautiful, look at that. Now, just because we don't have our push rods and rockers yet, doesn't mean we can't continue on with the intake manifold and the EFI system. And before we get the intake on, I'm gonna screw in a new oil pressure sender. So this guy is gonna send our oil pressure signal to our instrument cluster. It just threads on like that. And you actually don't use any Teflon tape going into the block. These are tapered, and it's gonna get a ground through there. So Teflon tape can mess with that. And we're gonna set it up pointing about right there. Before we install our intake manifold, I'm gonna paint this gold. This is just a little bit of an adhesive spray for the gasket. Just like that, looks kind of cool. And now when we install our manifold gasket, it will stay there and not fall down. So we'll line this up perfectly like that. All right, something to note is I went through 3 sets of intake manifold gaskets to make this work. On my C4 Corvette with the LT4 heads,
This side up.
we had a similar issue, but these look to line up okay. And they probably seal, but I don't know. I'd like to see more meat on there, and that's because these are larger intake runners, and these are performance gaskets that are very thick and just have a lot of meat on them. With those in place, we're gonna run a pretty fat bead of RTV on the front and the rear of this block. They say 1/4 inch, and I like to kind of lift this up and connect it into this gasket as well. So this is a wall of RTV. It's kind of crazy, but that's what they tell you to do in the instructions. There are some gasket sets that come with those as rubber seals, and for a lot of these intakes, it literally says do not use the rubber seals. Make a 1/4 inch wall. So that's what you gotta do. Now we can install our Whelen Street Warrior low rise intake, which is a beautiful thing because now I'll be able to put an air filter on it. And it looks super pretty, look at that, it's awesome. You guys wanna see what's gonna be one of my favorite parts of this project? These bolts, gold bolts, brand spanking new. Got them from Bolt Depot. That's a little bit better than this crusty old hardware that was holding the intake on before. Now I'm using thread sealant on the intake manifold bolts because some of them do have coolant behind them. Just like the cylinder heads, there is a sequence. We're going 25 foot-pounds. Here's the sequence. Some of these bolts are impossible to get a torque wrench into, so do your best. There's like probably 3 or 4 you can't. You're gonna have to hand tighten them. So like for example, these bolts here, impossible to even get a socket on. We gotta go wrench. This is just where experience and feel comes into play. Click, yeah. That's about 25. Luckily, intake manifold torque, it's important, but it's not nearly as important as the cylinder head torque. So as long as these are all good and tight, there's enough gasket to make up for any discrepancies, and then we have our sealant in the front. We are all good there. Intake is all torqued, and look what just came in, our push rod. So this is a very common size, and I was able to get it in a day. Pretty cool. So here is what our 7.200 push rod looks like, and these are hardened. They are performance push rods. So now we can just go around installing our push rods like that. Just putting a little assembly lube on the valves, throw some on the top of the push rods as well. Why not? Rocker arms are installed, but just loosely. We're gonna take this one cylinder at a time, starting with this one because we know that the camshaft is at the base circle. I've also gotten these to 0 lash, so the push rod won't spin, but just barely. Since we have 0 lash, we're gonna give it 1 full turn. That's a 1/4, and another. I'm gonna hit stuff if I actually do a full turn. That's 3, and that is 4 right there. We're gonna go just a tad bit more. So to know how much lifter preload, you have to follow the instructions that came with your lifter because they're all different. So we know that we have full travel hydraulic lifters, so we should be 40 thousandths to 60 thousandths. I'm going for about 50. And to know how much preload you're giving it by turning it 1 full turn, those are also in the instructions. So 1 turn is 42 thousandths. That's why we went a little bit more. But you do need to know the size stud for the rocker and the thread pitch. So what you tighten this onto, you need to know what that is because depending on your thread pitch and size, how much preload 1 turn gives you could be totally different. So definitely follow your instructions with lifter preload. These are called poly locks. So once you have that set on both the rockers, you're just going to tighten this just by hand at first. That's your set screw that's gonna lock in your preload because if this backs out, that's definitely gonna cause an issue. Your rocker arm will fall off. Now to lock our adjustment in place, we need the wrench and our little Allen at the same time. We're gonna hold the wrench, give that just a little tighten, and then finally, we're gonna tighten these together about a 1/4 turn. Keep in mind, we've already set the screw inside, so it's not gonna mess with our preload anymore. And they say just about a 1/4 turn, and now she's locked in place, and that's done. With that, let's spin it around, and we'll see what our mark looks like. So we're spinning the engine right now. It's also a good thing to do, is to make sure the cam you just put in, the biggest cam you could find, just kidding, doesn't make your valves hit any pistons. You don't wanna find that out on the first start. By hand, it'll just stop. So that's 1 revolution there. Oh man, these rockers are rocking. So we're on intake valve is open. Now it is closing, and it's getting ready for some compression. And right there. Okay, we're back to where we started. So we're gonna back off our poly lock and then remove this rocker. Take it off. Bloody beautiful. Look at that. Right down the middle. A perfect contact patch. That is excellent. All right, now I gotta go back and do this like 15 more times, and you gotta rotate the engine. So every cylinder you do, you gotta make sure it's on the base circle. So this might take you a couple hours, but it's worth it because you need those rockers rocking. Oh, and something else I wanted to show you guys, if you want to be even more certain that you're doing this right, borescopes always help. So we're on cylinder 3 right now. Piston is going all the way up. So that is what top dead center looks like. And now it's going down. This is the power stroke. So there's been an explosion and it's going down. Valves are staying closed. Now we're all the way down, and now the piston is coming back up. That is our exhaust valve. So we're getting rid of all of our exhaust. And then as soon as that goes up, we got our intake valve. So now it's sucking in our intake mixture with fuel. It's about done. And now we're coming up compression, compression. Anyway. So I just like to watch, make sure the piston is all the way up, then you know you're on base circle. That's it. I'm going around with check marks when I'm done with each valve, and that's because I'm bouncing around depending on which cylinder is at top dead center. But something I wanted to show you, something very important, is that you can't just tighten down the rocker studs. So I did in this case, and you can see that the rockers are offset pretty bad. And so the roller is gonna be on an angle hitting the valve. I've already gone around and done this to all the rockers, but I just wanna show you. So what you do is these are just hand tight right now, and you just throw the rockers back on, and then you're gonna just take a little hammer and you're gonna tap it. And you're tapping the guides that the studs go through until they look straight. All right, that looks pretty good. And you can see now that the rockers are straightened out, so the roller tip is gonna contact the valve properly. And then you just take these guys back off and you tighten the stud, and I had pulled these out and put Loctite on them first. So if you pull it out, you're gonna mess up your whole adjustment there. That's why they have to be kind of snug. You just gotta tap them with a little punch. But anyway, that's it. And then I'll go ahead and put the rockers back on and adjust it like you guys already saw. Hang on, something else that's pretty cool. If you guys have one of these oil cans, you can actually squirt it right into the pushrod, and actually it stops right there. Like, it's built up pressure. This whole thing is full going into the lifter as well. Pumping it, and bam. Let's get some here. And your engine assembly lube. There we go. All right. Ready for a first start. You know, after we get the rocker back on, because right now the valves aren't gonna do anything. Rocker arms are all done, and I'm bringing it back into time right now. Here's the MSD distributor that we are going to be using. We gotta pop this cap off real quick though. Cap is just a couple of screws, and there is our rotor. Nice looking rotor right there, I must say. Distributor gasket is installed. We got a little engine assembly lube on the gear as well. So basically what we need to do is point this rotor to cylinder 1. This can be a little bit of a song and dance, but something you wanna make sure of is that the oil pump drive inside the engine is lined up. So you'll see a slot in there that would accept that. If you look down there, you can see the slot. Okay, so I have these pretty well lined up. When this meshes in, the rotor's gonna move. So let's hope I got this kind of right-ish. So we're gonna have this mesh into the cam gear. So it's meshed in right now. And when we go down, bam, right there. So this is lined up with cylinder 1. And we're good. That's it. So now I'm just gonna reuse the old distributor clamp. So that just fits in like that. And we have our bolt, and we're gonna get this snug, but not totally tight, because later we're gonna set this up to 0 degrees and we're gonna have to move the distributor a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the cap back on, and we will have to change the firing order since we switched to the LS, but 1 is still 1. So that's where we're starting off. Go ahead and set the cap down so we know this one is number 1 right there. With our timing set and our distributor installed, we can start getting our covers back on this engine. Laid down a nice new rubber valve cover gasket, and here is our finned Holley valve cover. Man, does that look perfect. It's so fitting. You know, I had to go with some more gold hardware. I'll tighten up the driver's side as well. Valve covers are all done. I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw the old Holley Sniper EFI on. So we'll remove our tape here. We're gonna recycle our tape because I have valve cover breathers coming in tomorrow. Here we go, going green or yellow. Before the Sniper goes in, I installed this 90-degree fitting for our brake booster, so we can hook up our hose like that. This is gonna be the coolant temperature sensor for the gauges, and this is the coolant temperature sensor that's gonna communicate with the Holley. These are tightened up. Now we can install our base gasket like that. And now we can install this. So this is such a cool unit, this Sniper EFI 2. This has the engine computer built right in, and there are 4 100-pound-per-hour fuel injectors in here. So this will handle about 600 horsepower worth of fuel. And it just plops down like that. So I transferred the studs from the old intake manifold. Wow, this is neat. Oh my gosh, guys, this looks so cool. The Sniper throttle body is all bolted in. Go ahead and plug in our coolant sensor. I had to order some new throttle linkage parts so we can make the connection, but check this out. I'm really bad with sound effects. Anyway, while we wait on that and before we put the air cleaner on and all the spark plug wires, we need to install our front cover. And Holley sent out a beautiful front cover. It's aluminum. I love the finish, and it is very thick and strong as compared to the stamped steel part from the factory that bends quite easily. Gasket is on. They also give you new bolts because this is much thicker. And right now I have the oil pan removed, so engine jacked up. With the exhaust out of the way, it's actually pretty easy to do. I want to install this on the engine first and then do our oil pan. Sometimes they need a little bit of an adjustment to fit right. But luckily we have a ton of room to install our front cover. So she's going on. Oh, this looks so good. Okay, it has dowel pins as well to line it up. Perfect. Now we can tighten these bolts up. Well, I had all the bolts tight and I tried to turn the crank. You always want to double check that. It won't turn, so I think our double roller is hitting the inside of this cover. We should be able to see where though. There should be a mark. Let's get this thing off. There we go. The timing chain is just barely hitting. You can kind of see the pattern here where the chain would be. We're gonna have to grind it just a tad. What's nice is we have our marks, so as soon as those disappear, we should be clear. Hey, look at that. It's like you're racing. After a couple minutes of grinding, this is what we have. It's hard to tell, but it is a little bit recessed in the timing chain area, so that should be enough to clear. I have our new oil pan gasket in, and you need to put a little bit of RTV in these corners. That's where the cover and the block meet, and I do some in the back as well, you know, underneath the gasket there. And then with the engine jacked up, I should be able to slide this right back in. It was a little easier to take out than it is to go back in, but we'll get it. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Oil pan is all tightened up. No better time than now to get an oil filter on here. And I'm definitely going to change the oil after getting this thing running. Might even do like a couple oil changes, lots of new parts. Back down on the ground, it is time for our new harmonic balancer. So this is just the stock replacement. Look at that, lines up perfect. Part of the tool that I used earlier to remove the old balancer is also an installation tool. So it's threaded into the crank right now, and I'm pressing it back on. Once you can't go any further, you are done. And we can remove our tool. Now we can go back together with our crank pulley. So this is the balancer, this is the pulley. With the pulley bolts started, I'm gonna tighten up the crank bolt. That is enough. So for the Holley harness, what we need to basically make this thing run is we need to plug it in there, plug it into the distributor, and we're gonna have to send this thing power and then it'll fire. We need our wideband as well, but it's not that much, honestly. You guys ever seen a box of wine? This is a box of oil, and it's just really cheap bulk oil that I buy, and we're gonna be filling this up. I'm running kind of low, but we'll fill this up with some flush oil just for, you know, running it for 10 minutes or whatever. With the Sniper EFI system comes a no-weld O2 sensor bung. This is pretty cool, I've never done it, but we are gonna clamp in this bung. They give you a gasket, so we have to drill a little hole, and then the O2 sensor will thread right in. Again, this is all temporary exhaust. I'm gonna replace this in the next episode, but we need this to hear our engine run. So I think I'm gonna put this about here, and you always want this at an angle. So you never wanna put the O2 sensor at the bottom because it'll collect moisture. And then we can just start drilling a hole. Oh, cutting like butter. That's pretty easy, actually. There we go. Now we gotta drill a big one, 3/4. So with our 3/4 hole, we have our gasket that also has a hole. And this will sit like this. Gotta get our clamps on though first. And we slide these guys into the groove like so. Pretty cool, I gotta say. If you don't know how to weld, this is a great option. All right, so now we just tighten up these clamps. And there you have it. There's our O2 sensor bung. All right, here we go. Going back together with this entire exhaust system just held in with one hanger at the back. Oh. Can't wait to replace this. We have our headers placed in. Before I bolt these in though, I'm gonna be installing our spark plugs because it kind of helps to be able to manipulate the header a little bit. Not on this one, this one's super easy. It's the ones in there that you can't see. And I'm gonna be running NGKs. They were gapped at 28 thousandths. I actually had to increase the gap to about 40 thousandths. Something weird about increasing the gap. It's like There's no boost? What? But a lot of these older cars run between 40, 50,000s, but according to the MSD instructions, we need to be 40, 45. I did it at 41 because I'm 41 years old. I don't know, I had to pick a number. Spark plugs are all in, and now I'm just going around tightening up our headers. So yeah, this is like the easiest one to get to. That's fun. Long tube headers are cool and all, but a lot of times they just they're hard to work on, okay? Now, because we have our LS1 camshaft, we've changed the valve vents. So we have to change the ignition firing order, and I have some nice red MSD plug wires to do that. Now, as I mentioned, cylinder 1 is the same, so that's going here. But here is the difference. 18436572 is what the small block was, and we're changing it to 18726543. I was gonna try and memorize that, but I couldn't. So yeah, Google it is. So what this is gonna do, and why the LS1 firing order is more superior, is it's gonna smooth out the engine, and it's actually gonna be easier on the crank. The way that they have the cylinders paired on the LS just worked out better. That's why they did it later on. They learned. Thank you, small block. Well, the spark plug wires are connected, and this is quite the mess because the length of these wires was for the Chevy small block. So yeah, we got a lot of wire management to do at some point, but I really want to get this thing fired up. I'm gonna go get the battery. All right, battery going in. And for now, I just have the trans cooler lines looped. That way I don't have to put the radiator in, which it would make sense for me to do the accessories first. And right now I want to fire it. Probably have to eventually cut this down, but I have a threaded rod, and now we can install our air cleaner. Oh, yes. Now that is what I'm talking about, people. That looks so good. I love these vintage Holley valve covers and air cleaner. That's beautiful. Okay, so right now we don't have really any of the electronics hooked up, so it will not fire. There's no fuel pump or anything. So I want to just prime the oiling system. So we're just gonna crank it. We got a good charged battery, I think. Let's do this. Nice. Yeah, so we'll just keep that going, probably in bursts of like 10, 15 seconds for a total of a minute to give the starter a little cool down. That's good. And yeah, we'll just build up oil pressure. We had great oil pressure before. We didn't change anything to do with that really, so we should be good. All right, air cleaner came back off. I had to install our new valve cover breathers. They're finned, they look awesome. And I rigged up a fuel system. And a lot of the wires, everything is kind of just rigged. Here's the fuel pump we're actually gonna eventually use on the Camaro, and it has a built-in regulator. So we only need to run a feed. There's not gonna be a return, so we plugged that up. And we're gonna send power to this screen right now. Yeah! Holley EFI, oh, that's so cool. So Sniper 2, we have to tell it has 8 cylinders, engine displacement, 352, there we go. Okay, next, target idle speed, I'd probably do like 650. Try that for now. Cam, mild, no turbo. All right, RPM, so we have the Hyperspark and wide open throttle, ignition timing. I don't really care too much about this right now, but let's do like 30, bam, there we go. This is so cool. And so with this MSD system, it'll actually tune itself. It has like a self-tuning feature. It has the wideband. It gets its crank signal in the distributor. So we do have to set it to 0, but then from there we can mess with the spark, like literally in the car with the screen. That's so cool. All right, so here is our screen right now. Everything is saved. All right, here we go, people. Here we go. Everything is connected. First start of our fuel injected LS Cam 68 Camaro. Okay, that's not good. A little scary there. A little backfire through the intake. That's fuel coming out of there. All right, so I'm moving the distributor around a little bit. I think we had the timing way off. Let's try this again. Okay, I can't shut it off. I can't shut it off. Let's pull it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure the starter wasn't running. I couldn't shut it off. I had the key off and it was running. I don't think the starter was still going there, but I want to be able to shut my car off. So we just pulled the power to the fuel pump. We have just rigged up to the battery. Jeez. Okay, well, it runs. It runs, it's popping, but it runs. That actually was normal because we don't have any signal going to the Holley to shut it off. So effectively, our ignition switch right now just fires up the starter. That's all it does. So, she runs. Okay, now I gotta like run over to the distributor and start messing with it to keep it alive. Okay. That way's good, kind of. Jeez. All right, she's running. You can see it's squirting fuel in there. We got our timing gun on here. Kind of hard to catch on camera, but we want that white line to line up with the timing mark on the timing cover. And you can see it's starting to run better now. We were getting close to 0. All right. It's running good, but it's backfiring like crazy. All right, we've got the timing set to 0. Still backfiring like crazy. It doesn't run too bad. But yeah, it is like shooting a gun off, guys. Woo! Oh my God, that is nuts. That is nuts. Timing is good. So we can watch AFR, and when we rev it up, it gets kind of lean, and then the shotguns go away. So that's good. And the car is learning right now, so yeah, it's just, that's running rich, really rich. Oh yeah, super rich. Then we go lean, shotguns go away. I think I figured it out. I had 2 of these switched for our new LS firing order. I messed up, so hopefully it'll run better now and not pop. There we are, there we are. All right, now we'll recheck timing. Timing is still good, and no pops. Oh yeah. Oh, it's much better. That is much better. Bad firing order will cause pops, so I just had 2 of them right next to each other mixed. I don't know. It's been a long project. Woo! Oh, that sounds good, guys. It's running so good. Listen to this. Oh. Wow, that is awesome. This sounds so good. I was a little worried we'd lose a little of that old car sound going with the LS firing order, but look at how smooth it is now. Woo! Yep, that does nothing. All right, we gotta pull the fuel. So we don't have a cooling system, obviously, so I gotta, give it some time to cool off in between running it. But it runs, and it runs really good. I had to air out the shop, got a little smoky in there, but she sounds good. There is so much work left to do though. We have to do a complete fuel system. And my guys at Holley sent me a whole new fuel tank. We're gonna run all new lines. They sent me a complete exhaust, including the headers. We're also gonna wire in some period correct gauges. Guess which ones I went with. Needless to say, we have a ton more wrenching to do, and I don't really know why I took off the gloves. I'm probably gonna get started right after filming this outro. There are so many parts in the front office that just got here. I am so excited to show you guys this Camaro back on the road after its modernization and its LSing and everything else that we did to it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big fat thumbs up. You just click the button down there. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this was a good video, and it really helps me out. You could also share the video, and probably the best way to support me, support Legitstreetcars, is by subscribing to the channel. We just hit 1.4 million subscribers, which is insane. So if you guys enjoy a show that is just straight wrenching and no drama and no weird stuff, then maybe you'll consider subscribing. But anyway, most importantly, I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next video. For the bloopers, don't forget to get yourself some shop wipes double points to win my Diesel X5, and the double points on the wipes ends this week. You guys are gonna love them now to me, messing up probably just 1 or 2 times. So if you don't have running water in your garage, if you don't have running water, this is a perfect solution. If you guys don't have running water in the garage, wait, hang on. Now, it's a Chevrolet Camaro, Camaro. Wait, hang on. Now, it's a Chevrolet Camaro convertible. Now it's a convertible. Let's go with that. You gotta exercise the top. I don't think, if it's got water in it and the block isn't cracked, I don't know. We could rip off everything from the top. Yeah. These are the best wipes on the market. These are the best shop wipes on the market. Then you can use them then you can use the same one to, strangely enough, I didn't hear that when it was running. Strangely enough, I didn't hear that when the engine was running. Camera just turned on. Out of nowhere, not ready. And just kind of start over. Before we get the cam in, I have my baby little 3 jaw that is going to, before we slide the camshaft in, I have my baby little, before we install the camshaft, so you can see this cam gear You can see the crank gear. And when you're looking down on it, and when you're looking down on it, and when you're looking down on this, next step, we have our aluminum or steel, multi-layer steel. And I will either fly you out here or deliver the car to you. There's nothing, let's see. As opposed to the more, as opposed to some ARP lubricant that won't come out of the tube. And I'll try 7 point. You can have custom made pushrod length. You can have custom made, pretty common one, especially with going to hydro. You can have pushrod lengths. You can have custom pushrods made. Now, luckily an intake manifold torque intake manifold torque. You can see here if you go too far to one side. You can see if you go too far, it's gonna hit the guide. So we're spinning the engine and we'll start. So I've already, and you go around and you tighten, and you go around and you tighten, and you tighten the stud. Oh, and hang on, one more really cool thing. And hang on, something else that's pretty cool. Put a little bit of engine, and I put a little end. Do you guys remember those big? You guys ever seen one of the? You guys ever seen a box? Now, as I mentioned before, cylinder 1. Oh my god. Oh. On the road after its modernization and its LSing. They end this week, and to win my Diesel X5, those double points on the wipes ends. To win my Diesel X5 and those,